Welcome to our channel, where we break down global headlines at full throttle, no breaks, no filters. Get ready for the raw truth, fast and unfiltered. Today we're revving up the speculation engine on something that not too long ago seemed unthinkable. Could Canada, long defined by its friendship with the United States, be about to rev its engines and race toward a new partnership on the other side of the Atlantic? We're talking about the big question everyone's been buzzing about. Could Canada actually join the European Union? It may sound far-fetched, but with President Donald Trump threatening new tariffs on Canadian products, only to suspend them at the 11th hour, our neighbors to the north have suddenly found themselves thinking, with friends like that, who needs enemies? To get a grip on this high-octane scenario, let's shift gears and delve into the 7 key drivers fueling speculation that Canada might just trade in its North American identity for a shiny new EU membership card. 7. Canada's confidence crisis with the U.S. For decades, Canada has enjoyed a mostly cordial relationship with the United States. 75% or more of Canada's exports go south of the border. But recent tariff threats on steel, aluminum, and all Canadian products have sent shockwaves across Canadian politics and business. Suddenly, Canadians are asking themselves if their largest trading partner is still the reliable ally they once knew. Trump's tariff threats. The Canadian Prime Minister has faced a whirlwind, juggling new demands from Washington at unpredictable intervals. Many Canadians feel it's like sleeping next to an elephant. You feel every twitch and turn. 51st state or 28th member. President Trump has even floated the possibility that Canada become the 51st U.S. state, an idea that's found little traction among Canadians who value their independence and social policies. This confidence shakeup is making Canadians wonder if they'd be better off forging deeper ties with a partner that might have a more stable approach to trade. Cue the European Union. 6. The EU's surprising invitation. A chorus of European voices, from prominent media outlets like The Economist to members of the European Parliament, has welcomed Canada with open arms. According to them, there's no reason why EU membership should be off the table. Shared values and history. Canada's social policies, gun control, universal health care, and strong democratic institutions already align with most European nations. European Parliament endorsements. Some MEPs have explicitly voiced that they stand with Canada in the face of American unpredictability. They argue Canada's sacrifice in past wars to liberate Europe underpins a deep, historic bond that could bolster formal membership. While these statements might seem symbolic, they point to an intriguing political shift. With the United States turning inward, the EU has grown more open to forging new alliances beyond continental Europe. 5. Tariffs, trade wars, and temptation. The tariff threats from the U.S. have a domino effect. When one major trading route gets rocky, you start looking for smoother roads. Canada's no exception, especially as billions of dollars hang in the balance. Retaliatory tariffs. Ottawa has hinted at slapping equivalent tariffs on U.S. goods, targeting key products from swing states in hopes of forcing Washington's hand. So far, it's been tit for tat. But the real question is, how sustainable is this trade war for either side? Transatlantic alternative. Canada already has a free trade deal with Europe known as CETA, Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. That means tariff-free trade on most goods, 98% and counting, has already given Canadian businesses a strong push to explore European markets. The possibility of joining the EU could smooth out the path even further, ensuring more stable access to roughly 450 million consumers. With tensions escalating across the Atlantic, many Canadians wonder if future prosperity lies east rather than south. 4. Could we join the EU? Media and public discourse. Media outlets have a knack for capturing the zeitgeist, and Canada's largest daily newspaper, the Toronto Star, posed what once would have been a silly question: could we join the EU? Even The Economist has mused over whether a union of Europe's high population density and Canada's vast resources is a match made in heaven. National identity on the line. Canada's story is deeply entwined with not being the U.S. They have different healthcare systems, gun laws, and a robust sense of multiculturalism and global engagement. The idea of joining the EU plays to that identity, cooperating with countries that share more similar social policies. Grassroots nationalism. Ironically, Trump's tough talk has fueled a wave of patriotic sentiment in Canada. Stores are promoting Buy Canadian campaigns, and more consumers are turning away from American products. The question is whether this revived nationalism might lead Canadians away from any foreign entanglements or encourage them to seek new alliances that reaffirm their distinct values. 3. The pop quiz for Justin Trudeau. Now let's shift gears and hear from the Canadian Prime Minister himself. Clip plays. Trudeau stands at a podium, addressing reporters about supporting Ukraine and preserving the rules-based global order, emphasizing Canada's commitment to standing with international partners. When he finishes, a reporter jumps in with a question about possible EU membership. So, Mr. Prime Minister, do you think Canada would be better off as the 28th EU member than as the 51st U.S. state? This exchange captures the sense of urgency and the new conversation swirling around Ottawa. Trudeau sidestepped the question diplomatically, but the fact it's even being asked at official press events is telling. Canada is reevaluating its position in the world. Political upheaval. Trudeau has announced he will step down after his party chooses a successor, which creates political uncertainty. If a more conservative government takes power, will they push for closer U.S. ties, or will they double down on forging new deals with the EU? Short-term versus long-term gain. Navigating trade tensions with Washington might be easier day-to-day than negotiating full EU membership. But if the headlines from Capitol Hill keep Canadians anxious, the conversation could pivot in surprising ways. 2. Could Canada really join the EU? Is it even legally feasible? By the letter of EU treaties, only European countries can apply. But the definition of European has never been set in stone. Geographical lines have proven flexible for political and economic reasons in the past. The 35 chapters. Any new member must negotiate 35 policy chapters covering everything from judicial standards to environmental regulations. Canada's advanced economy and political system might breeze through many of these chapters, making membership negotiations potentially shorter than for other candidate nations. No guarantee of a warm welcome. While some European politicians are enthusiastic, others might balk at the idea. Existing EU states have their own complexities. Brexit. Anyone? The EU might feel it has enough on its plate without adding a transatlantic partner. Still, Ottawa and Brussels already share CETA, which could pave the road for deeper economic and political integration. If the U.S.-Canada relationship frays further, the improbable could become the possible. 1. The New World Order, 51st state versus 28th member. Perhaps the biggest question is, where does Canada see itself in this New World Order? The U.S. is still Canada's top customer and neighbor, but political volatility can be costly. Meanwhile, the EU is a more stable, albeit complex, economic giant that's actively courting new strategic partnerships. 51st state scenario. Historically, there's been little appetite among Canadians to fold into the United States. Polls show it sits in the low teens at best, a non-starter for a country whose very founding was to avoid American annexation. 28th member scenario. A big leap that might never happen, but the conversation itself signals a deeper shift in Canadian sentiment. If nothing else, it's a wake-up call for Washington that they risk alienating a key ally with repeated trade threats and unpredictability. Economic versus cultural identity. Ultimately, trade is just one piece of the puzzle. Canada sees itself as a progressive, peacekeeping nation, values that align well with many European states. But physically crossing the Atlantic to the EU would be a move for the history books. Before we unveil our final verdict, do us a favor. Smash that like and subscribe button if you enjoy these global deep dives. It helps us reach more viewers who crave straight talk with a splash of horsepower. Trump's tariff gambits have thrown Canada's long-standing relationship with the U.S. into question, thrusting the idea of EU membership from no way to what if. While it remains deeply speculative, and there's no immediate blueprint for how it would work, The conversation alone shows how fragile the old alliances have become in an era of shifting geopolitics. The real litmus test is whether Canada will press the pedal and speed toward a bolder European future, or ease off the gas and stick to its tried-and-true relationship with the U.S. If Ottawa continues to see threats on steel, aluminum, and potentially more sectors, the EU lane could look more appealing day by day. What do you think? Could we see a maple leaf waving next to the stars on the EU flag? Or will political pragmatism keep Canada tethered to its North American roots? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know if you believe this cross-Atlantic alliance is feasible or just a fantasy. Thanks for tuning in, where we always keep our eyes on the road ahead. Until next time, stay informed, drive safe, and keep your foot on the gas for the next big global story.